Today, we're diving into the work of a Victorian poet who, writing more than 150 years ago, somehow managed to diagnose a feeling that is incredibly and sometimes painfully modern.
You know that feeling, right? It's that strange, sinking sensation. You could be surrounded by people, at a concert, on a packed train, or even just scrolling through a feed full of faces, but you feel completely and totally isolated.
Well, if you've ever felt that way, you are definitely not the first. Long before any of our modern distractions existed, a poet named Matthew Arnold was putting that exact feeling into words. He basically argued that this sense of isolation wasn't just a mood, it was a core feature of the modern world he saw being born. Now, to really get Arnold, you have to understand his time. The Victorian era was this age of incredible, dizzying change. It was caught in a massive tug-of-war between centuries of religious faith on one side and the explosive, world-changing discoveries of science on the other.
This feeling was so specific that it actually got its own name, Arnoldian melancholy. And this wasn't just about being sad. It was a cultural mood, an intellectual ache that came from living in this in-between zone. The old world of faith felt like it was dying, but a new, stable, modern world hadn't really been born yet to take its place.
So with that old world crumbling, Arnold makes his first huge diagnosis. He looks at this new landscape and says, you know what, in this new reality, every single person is fundamentally, existentially alone. For centuries, the big idea, put perfectly by the poet John Donne, was that no man is an island. The thinking was that humanity was like a single continent. We were all connected, all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
And then, boom! Arnold comes in with this. It almost feels like a slap in the face. He even uses italics for that yes, like he's directly arguing with Donne across 200 years. Yes, we mortal millions live alone. So he's not just saying we feel lonely, he's saying loneliness is the new default setting for modern life.
And he gives us this brilliant metaphor to explain it. If Donne saw us as a continent, Arnold sees us as an archipelago, a chain of islands. We can see each other, we might even be really close, but we're all separated by what he calls this unplumbed, salt, estranging sea. We can never truly, fully bridge that gap between our own minds. So that begs a huge question, right? If we used to be this connected continent, what on earth happened? What force was powerful enough to carve up the world and leave us all on our own little islands? For Arnold, the answer was crystal clear. The thing that once bound everyone together was now the very cause of the crisis. He called it the Sea of Faith, and its tide was going out. In his most famous poem, Dover Beach, he paints this gorgeous picture of the past. Faith was like this massive, protective ocean, a bright girdle wrapped around the entire world, holding everything together, giving everyone a shared sense of meaning. But now, standing on that same shore, Arnold doesn't feel protected at all. All he can hear is the sound of that tide pulling back. It's a melancholy, long, withdrawing roar. And as it retreats, it leaves all of humanity totally exposed and vulnerable, like shivering on a cold, rocky beach in a world without that divine comfort. And look, this wasn't just some abstract feeling. It was a direct response to real-world events. In the 1830s, new geology proved the Earth was millions of years old, completely shattering the biblical timeline. Then came early theories of evolution. Arnold wrote Dover Beach right in the middle of all this upheaval, years before Darwin's Origin of Species made it official. He was just capturing the anxious mood of the moment. And the setting he chooses for this poem is just genius. The white cliffs of Dover. They're supposed to be this icon of England, of permanence and strength. But Arnold saw this incredible, tragic irony hidden right inside the cliffs themselves. See, those white cliffs are made of chalk. And chalk is just the fossilized remains of countless tiny sea creatures built up over millions and millions of years. So the very symbol of national stability was literally made of the scientific proof of deep geological time that was eroding the very foundations of religious certainty. The rock itself was telling a new and terrifying story. So, if we're all stuck on our own islands and the great sea that connected us is gone, what's left? What can we possibly do? This brings us to Arnold's very fragile and very modern prescription. This is his plea. It's almost a whisper. In a world that's been stripped of divine certainty and grand purpose, the only refuge, the only possible source of meaning left, is real, authentic connection between two people. Truth isn't in the heavens anymore. It's in being true to one another.
Arnold really forces us to look at the world with new eyes. He says the modern world seems incredible, right? It's a land of dreams, so various, beautiful, new. But, he says, that's just an illusion. Peel back that shiny surface, and what's really there? A world that has neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain.
And this leaves us with a final, really troubling question that hangs over his work. Can that small, fragile flame of personal love actually be enough? Is it strong enough to light up a world that has become so vast and dark and confusing?
And his final warning suggests, probably not. He leaves us with this absolutely haunting image of humanity lost in the dark. We are on a darkling plain, swept up in chaos, like ignorant armies fighting and fleeing from threats we can't see for reasons we don't understand. It's a terrifying vision of a world without a shared moral compass. And it's a warning that feels just as chilling and relevant today as it did over 150 years ago.